Across the country now, California Governor Gavin Newsom is closer to facing a recall election this November. Organizers have gathered enough signatures to force the issue onto the ballot there. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson is tracking this story for us. Steve, it gets to be a little nuanced here, so sort of walk us through where things stand and what happens now.
Well, the first thing people should know, Aaron, is that with the votes crossing the threshold, with the signatures that have been collected, this is essentially a fast track to be on a November ballot. Now, as you mentioned, a little bit of nuance. There are a number of steps before that happens. First of all, is the period that we're in now, which is 30 days, essentially a grace period for anyone who signed any proposal to have the governor recalled, to essentially rethink what they've done. They can essentially withdraw their signatures. In fact, there's actually a Democratic campaign going on right now to try to get enough people to withdraw their signatures that would eventually sidestep this entire action. It's unlikely to happen, but that's another piece of the puzzle here. Meanwhile, after that 30 days, there's another about 60-day period where the state has to essentially come up with the cost for this recall campaign, which could be up to about $400 million to taxpayers. So let that sink in. And then following that, another 60 to 80 days for the Secretary of State, the Lieutenant Governor, to certify the recall itself. And then eventually you'll see it on the ballot. And then voters have to decide what they want to do, answering a number of questions. First of all, do you actually want to recall the governor? And secondly, if so, who do you want to replace him with? That's where we're at right now. Aaron?
Well, as we take all that in, Steve, Newsom is still governor out there. Any response from him to all this?
You know, the responses have been pretty muted so far from the governor himself. He's really relying on allies and advisors who basically have been calling this a power grab, saying that there's these far-right conservatives, pro-Trump, anti-vaccine, that want to upend the democratic process, and that they're doing this by using this recall campaign. This is the 6th or 7th campaign that they've had to recall the governor, and finally they've gotten some traction. The governor himself, though, did say something to that effect. He went on Twitter to say, "This Republican recall threatens our values and seeks to undo the important progress we've made from fighting COVID to helping struggling families, protecting the environment, and passing common sense gun violence solutions. There's too much at stake." The governor essentially painting the recall campaign as a bunch of haters that are after his job, and they see this as the best path to do that. Whether or not voters and people in the state agree, that's up to interpretation. You know, the 1.5 to 1.6, maybe even more than that, when this is all said and done, will be a significant portion of the state, although obviously not a majority, but we'll see where all of this shakes up as the months move forward. Aaron?
All right, Steve Patterson out in L.A. for us. Steve, thank you.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.